So in recent years, many studies have confirmed that persistent exposure to air pollution is extremely harmful for children. In fact, UNICEF considers air pollution as one of the greatest threats to children's health. Air pollution has been directly linked with respiratory infections and other related diseases that are responsible for almost 1 in 10 under 5 deaths. We have two doctors, Shreya Dubey, Department of Neonatology and Pediatrics at the C.K. Birla Hospital, and Dr. Krishan Chugh, Director and Head of the Department of Pediatrics, Fortis Memorial Research Institute, to speak to us about the best possible ways to protect children from the ill effects of pollution. Thank you both of you for joining us. So the estimates by the World Health Organization show that every day around 93% of children under the age of 15, which is around 1.8 billion children, breathe air that is seriously impacting their health and development. And there are innumerable studies that also show that air pollution also impacts the development and cognitive ability of children. What kind of risks do children exposed to pollution face in the short term and long term? Dr. Dubey, can you take us through that first?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here. With the increasing pollution, there has been an increased incidence of nasal stuffiness, wheezing, snoring, dry cough, dry skin, increased incidence of asthma, eczema, and recurrent infections. Over the long-term development of the kids, it is also being affected because of this recurrent infections, which is exacerbated because of this pollution. So the children are not able to go to schools, they are having recurrent infections, they are on long-term medications, and that produces a bad effect, a detrimental effect on their cognition and further development. So it is indeed a hazardous thing that is going on here.
Right. Dr. Chugh, what kind of long-term problems do you see children facing when they're exposed to air pollution for a long time?
You see, WHO has given it a term. They say it's pollution, exposure to pollution in children is like a life sentence. Throughout life, they will suffer. They'll be somewhat suboptimal in their growth, in their lung growths, and consequently in their physical performances and possibly in cognitive performances also. All that happens is that in young children, the lungs have not grown fully. They are yet to grow. And when they are exposed to such toxic material, they do not grow well. Their growth is retarded and becomes somewhat, let's say, less efficient lungs are produced. Because of which, throughout their life, they'll be somewhat less active compared to their other colleagues. Further, even the brain is not getting its best supply of oxygen during the growth period, and brain develops in the first 2 years maximally. So in those periods of time, if there is exposure, we can see what effect it will have on the brain development, and that again will have long-term effects throughout the life. Now, all this, why does it happen so much more in children that they are affected more? Besides development, there are other issues. Children, many a times breathe through their mouth. That means the nasal filter is gone. That's bypassed. Second, they are shorter. The pollutants, which are the worst of the lot, are at the lower levels, near our floor, maybe 1 to 3 feet above the floor. So they are exposed more. Children breathe faster. They'll take much larger amounts per kilogram of their body weight compared to adults. And these pollutants will have a higher concentration in their bodies. Since the lungs are not very well developed, the ultrafine particles, the 0.1 micron and less, have a tendency to ooze through from the lungs into the blood. And once they are in the blood, they'll go to all tissues, all organs of the body, brain being the most important. Yes, some effect may come in the long run on the heart also. So those are the issues that we have to consider when we are thinking about protecting our children extra compared to adults.
Right. Dr. Dubey, what are the best ways to protect children, both indoors and outdoors? Because clearly indoors is also dangerous, right? So what is the best way, and what is that extra care that parents need to take? Can they send their children out to play? Can they send them out for cycling? What are these extra things that parents need to be careful about?
seeing this abrupt increase in the pollution levels recently, so it is very advisable not to send the children outside if the AQI is more than 300, and if the AQI is more than 150 to 200, and if the child is more than 2 years old, it will be good if the child is wearing. They should be encouraged to wear mask more than 2 years old. Also, smoking should be strongly discouraged inside the home. Anyone who's smoking, they should not go near the children. The other thing is the indoor air pollution, that is actually 7 to 10 times worse than the outdoor air pollution. So, if possible, air purifiers can be used, and if the air purifiers are at least for 8 to 9 hours during the night time, so that the lungs get some time to recuperate. And if the air purifiers are like a stretch on the pocket, then we can also encourage the parents to use some air purifying plants like money plant or snake plant, bamboo plant, aloe vera, etc. Apart from this, some physical activity in the morning, especially in the morning hours when the cardiorespiratory stamina, the endorphins are on the higher side. So the cardiorespiratory stability increases if the child is encouraged to have some physical activity in the morning. So that is very good to boost up the immune strength. Also, healthy eating, home-based hygienic diet, and adequate hydration during these times is very good for the children. So these points should be taken care by the parents.
Right. Those are very interesting points, Dr. Dubey. Dr. Chugh, in cities like Delhi, where there's already this problem of congested localities, children will be exposed to pollution-heavy zones such as busy roads or construction zones. So, and traffic has also gone up, and including the time that children now spend on the road. What kind of impact do these activities have on children's health, and how can even one possibly avoid them?
Yes, if during the days of COVID, we were able to convince our children to wear masks, whether it was school or even otherwise. That mask was supposed to be N95 kind of mask, which is very tight and not easily tolerated by children. Where for pollution, we do not need N95. Something less than that will also be beneficial, may not be 100% beneficial. So whenever possible, children should be encouraged to use a mask when they're especially outside the home. Inside the home, it's absolutely impractical, even if the home environment is also not less polluted, but still it's impractical. So additional thing can be masks. Second is that physical activity, we have to choose when and which day. Physical activity, yes, we all agree, is the crux of growth of children. They have to have some activity every day. But then under the worst of the days, it is better that they stay indoors. Indoor, there is some control of the family on what kind of activity they are doing, what kind of air they are breathing inside. Outside is total out of control, just what it is there, we have to breathe that. So these can be the measures that can be additionally taken. Right. One thing that if we take exercise early morning, it may not be the best time because little later, say 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 2 p.m., that may be a better time in the sense that there is some sunshine at that time, the air starts moving a little bit and maybe pollutants become less dense at that time. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Dubey, every year we've been discussing this problem and it's been happening for the last 7 years. Do you see this problem becoming all the more acute every year, or would you say that there's largely more awareness and willingness to understand the problem of pollution amongst people now?
Yes, the awareness among the people, the preparedness of the parents, it is definitely increasing. There's no doubt about it. In the months of August and September only, they start asking us what to do to curb this pollution menace. So they are more aware. But again, the pollution levels, I don't think there has been any improvement, any drastic improvement there. The children are as vulnerable as they were the last year and the previous year. And so I think that some drastic measures need to be taken so that this acute increase in pollution there has to be some preparedness before this thing comes. So that is
right. Thank you, Dr. Dubey, and thank you, Dr. Chugh, for joining us and telling us what are the best ways to keep our children safe both indoors and outdoors in this air pollution. Thank you so much for joining us.